Hi, my name is Dustin Kisner, and today I'm going to talk about graphing parent functions using the program Geogebra. What parent functions are functions, equations, y equals, and we're going to graph multiple of these, such as y equals x squared, y equals x to the third power, y equals x to the fourth, y equals radical x, or y equals square root of x, y equals the absolute value of x, and then y equals the cube root of x. So we're going to look at some basic functions that are really the foundation to graphing pretty much anything you would ever want to graph. So let's go ahead and switch over to the program Geogebra. We'll go ahead and take a look at what it has to offer. Geogebra is a free program to download, and if you go to geogebra.org, which you can see up in the upper left-hand corner and on that first slide, the spelling on that. But if when I usually find it, I actually go to Google. I just think that's easier. Go into Google search, type in Geogebra, and then make sure it's the geogebra.org, not .com, .org. And when you're there, there's obviously different downloading for whether you're PC or Mac, so make sure you're careful on what program you're downloading. And then there's also an Android app that I recommend downloading as well, which is fairly new. Anyways, so Geogebra is free, so absolutely I encourage you to download it. I encourage all of my students to download it as well. Alright, so here we go. Here's Geogebra, and once you have it downloaded and you go ahead and open it up, you'll have this on your screen. First thing I would do, because we're dealing with graphing, I would put your grids on there. So this doesn't really look like your typical graph paper. So let's make it look like that. If you're on your screen, anywhere you want, hit the right click on your mouse and hit grid. Bam, there we go. Now it looks more like your typical graph paper. It's just easier to see the intervals when graphing. Alright, so basic layout here, you have all these buttons up here. We're not really going to mess with them too much. Most of these, if not all, have to do with geometry. So this program is amazing for geometry. But today we're looking specifically at graphing, so you can play around with it as much as you would like. But for right now, we're just going to look at graphing. Alright, so at the bottom of your screen, you have the input button. And we're going to go ahead and click down there at the input. There should be nothing in there. And I'm going to put in the equation y equals x squared. And if you can see to the bottom right of your screen, you have y equals x squared, but right below that we have what we want to put into the input button, because the computer recognizes certain symbols as placing something up into the exponent. So when we want to put that squared on there, that 2 up in the exponent, we have to put a little caret. So let's go ahead and start. Click y equals x, then the caret, which is located on the number 6 on the keyboard. So you have to hit Shift 6, and that will give you your little caret. Now what that caret does is places the next number that you place up into the exponent. So I have in the equation y equals x caret 2, and you can see that's exactly in that little screen to the right there. That's what you need to put into the input, and hit enter. Bam, there we go. So you can see basic parabola y equals x squared. This is very useful for graphing anything. So can I make this more elaborate? Absolutely. You can go ahead and play with it and do y equals, x squared plus x minus 10 and get a different graph. Alright? So it's an amazing program that'll graph just about anything. So let's go ahead and jump to y equals x to the third power and graph that. So y equals, and your equals button, sorry I didn't say that, but your equals button is right next to your backspace. It's to the left, and there's an addition sign. Don't hit shift equal, just hit the equals plus button, and that will give you your equal sign. Sorry I did not mention that before. Alright, so y equals x caret to the and then hit 3, and you should get that. And I'll go ahead and move that to the top here. There we go. So you should get that button right there. And you kind of look at it, goes through the coordinate point 1, 1. That's important. But anyways, that's y equals x to the third. And as you can see, down in the right-hand corner there, you have y equals x to the third. And then right below that, you have exactly what you should be entering into your computer. So you go y equals x caret 3. And it'll read it as y equals x to the third power. Alright, now let's go ahead and look at x to the fourth power. Y equals x caret 4. Hit enter. Oops. Oh, I capitalized it. It is very touchy, so FYI. So what I did wrong there is I accidentally hit caps lock. You cannot do that. Y equals x caret 4. Much better. Now as you can see, to the right there, you have y equals x to the fourth power. Make sure when you put it in the computer, you hit y equals x caret 4. And that will give you the graph that you see right there, which is a little bit fatter at the bottom of your graph and a little bit skinnier compared to your x squared. I'll go ahead and graph x squared really quick. That's your x squared graph. The darker one's your x to the fourth. So you can kind of see the difference there. Alright, so let's go ahead and graph x to the fifth power. And then we'll move on to something a little bit different. So we have y equals x caret 5. And hit enter. And there we go. Now, as you can see to the right there, you have y equals x to the fifth. Make sure you have that caret in there. Alright. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the next graph. We're going to go ahead and graph the absolute value of x. So y equals absolute value of x, which is to the right there in the screen to the right, bottom. When we put this into the computer, you need to hit y equals exactly what's to the right there, and it's y equals ABS, just right on the keyboard, ABS, open parentheses, and your parentheses, when you open them, it's the 9, so you have to hit shift 9, and it'll give you the double parentheses, and then go ahead and hit x, and then you should be good. And you should have in the input y equals ABS, open parentheses x, close parentheses. Exactly what I have to the bottom right in the mini screen there. And then hit enter. And you get your absolute value graph. There we go. So these are all basic graphs. Obviously, you can jazz them up by throwing in addition signs, subtraction signs, different exponents. But for right now, we're just looking at the basics. All right. Okay, so now let's go ahead and graph radical. Y equals the square root of x. So as you can see to the bottom right of this screen, you have y equals square root of x. Now, when we put this into the computer, into the input, we have to do y equals x caret in parentheses 1/2. So y equals, I'm just going to go ahead and start here, x to the caret. I'm going to open my parentheses with the shift 9 and then hit and then put in 1, and then the division bar, which is just, the division bar is the right next to the question mark. It is the question mark button right to the left of the shift button on the right hand side. So just hit that and that'll give you the division bar 2. So now in the input button, or in that little section there, you should have y equals x caret open parentheses 1 divided by 2 close parentheses. Exactly what you see in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. And then go ahead and hit enter, and you should get something that looks exactly like that. And this is your graph for radical x. Y equals radical x. Good. Alright, so now let's look at the cube root, and then we will go ahead and be done. But anyway, so let's go ahead and look at y equals the cube root of x. And as you can see in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, you have y equals the cube root of x. How we put that into the calculator though, I mean not calculator, sorry, the computer, for the input is y equals x caret and to the 1/3 power. So y equals x caret, open your parentheses with shift 9, and then 1/3, 1 divided by 3, and then hit. So what you should have in the input right now, before you hit enter, y equals x to the caret, with caret, sorry, so y equals x caret, open parentheses, 1/3, close parentheses, and then hit enter. And there we go. That's exactly the graph you should have right now. Good. Alright, so I hope this helps with graphing basic parent functions. So I would recommend that you kind of play around with this and kind of see what you have available to you with this program. It's a very good program. Absolutely it would be for any math class that you're working with, because in algebra all the way to calculus you're graphing a lot, and then with geometry this just does some amazing things with geometry. So I recommend for any math class downloading this program and using it on a daily basis. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.